Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Om Swastiastu, Salam, Namun Buddhaya, Salam Kebajikan. Respectable the head of UPT Library of Unesa, Professor Dr. Andes Suroto MA PhD, Honorable the Director, Key Account Customer Engagement APAC of Springer Nature Miss Mabel Tang, Honorable as Product Trainer I Group Asia Pacific, Miss Sururin Mauduna, Honorable all participants, all lecturers, students, and of course all of my beloved friends, to all librarians in Unesa. First of all, let's thanks to Allah who has been giving us guidance, happiness, healthy, and mercy, so we can attend and participate in this event without any obstacle. Praise and salutation upon our Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, the last messenger, the best figure of the universe. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Hening Ari Widowati. It is wonderful and precious chance for me to be your master of ceremony in this beautiful morning on Monday, 14th of October 20 and 24 in our event, the Outdoorship Workshop, Springer Nature, How to Get Published. This morning we have several agendas, so allow me to read sequences of our agenda. The first is opening, the second is singing Indonesia Raya and hymn Unesa, the third is speeches, the fourth is interactive questions and answers from the audience, and the last is closing. Well, to take advantage of the time, let's start this agenda by reciting Basmalah together. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. The second agenda is singing Indonesia Raya and hymn Unesa. Dear ladies and gentlemen, please stand up to sing Indonesia Raya and hymn Unesa.
Indonesia,
Now let's continue the main agenda, that is speeches. The first speeches will be delivered by Ms. Mabel Tang. Please welcome to Ms. Mabel Tang. Time is yours. Just for information, maybe if it's for too light in front, the audience can open the YouTube. We are live Perpustakaan Unesa. Thank you.
Selamat pagi. Saya senang bisa di Unesa. I hope you understand what I'm saying. I'm just very glad to be here in person. Is there some echo? Is it okay? Okay. Just this week and last week, I had quite a long trip, but travel along Indonesia, meeting different, researchers, lecturers, all the young people. Yep. It's my second week in Indonesia, so moving into, is it the east or west of Indonesia? East Java, East Java, and try to, summarize what's the difference between the west and the east. One thing that very noticeable is the language. I don't understand Bahasa at all, but most of the people told me that even like West Java people, they use the different words and accents with the east. So thus I know how big and the variation is in Indonesia. So I do see there is a lot of potential and opportunities for Indonesia researchers, because there is a report saying that actually the number of publication in open access environment from Indonesia is the top #1 among Southeast Asia. So I think that we still see a lot of growing publication for Indonesia researchers. And by doing the workshop like today, hopefully I can give you some hints and tips how to structure your manuscript, how to choose the appropriate journal, as well as how to navigate the peer review when you submit your manuscript. And at the same time, I also mentioned briefly about the book publishing, because I know that some experienced authors, after they have published a few articles, they really want to publish a book in order to, further summarize their findings in that particular field. So I will have some slides about book publishing. And of course, there are some tools and services from Springer Nature that I would like to share with all of you. But before that, because this is in person, we are able to do some funny interaction. So could you please scan the QR code here? And also, you can use menti.com and enter the code. So I will give you a minute to log in, because there are some questions that I want to ask you. But at the same time, after my presentation, there is a game with all of you, and it is like a quiz. So if you are able to answer all my 4 questions correctly, then you are entitled to win a prize from me. Has everyone logged in yet? Who needs more time? Oh, okay, okay, sure. Okay, I will give you another minute. So if everybody is ready, then first of all, I have two questions for all of you. So in your phone or in your device, you can answer it. So I want to know, what is your role in Unesa? Are you a professor or lecturer? Are you a librarian, undergrad student, postgrad student, or others? It is quite a mixed role. Okay. How many people do we have in the group? 30 plus? 30. So half of you have entered the role. So I think most of you are professors or lecturers, then followed by undergrad students. So it's a mix. So I try to, explain sometimes in a brief or simple way, or sometimes try to be more for the experienced. And then the next question, have you ever published in journal or a book? Yeah, I believe those say yes should be our professor or lecturer. Okay. That's my phone. Okay, this is my agenda today. Of course, I will try to touch on briefly about Springer Nature. Who are we? What do we provide? And also, the most important trend Springer Nature as a publisher identified. And then how does your research journey look like? Because you need to understand the process or editorial process of the whole journey, that you understand what you need to prepare. And then goes to the main core, that is logical manuscript structure, efficient publication strategy, and the successful journal submission. So these are all the three basic things we need to cover today. And if time allows, then I will explain the book publishing process to all of you if you have the idea or if already have something in mind that you can make it into a book. Last but not the least is Springer Nature service and tools that we want to further support your research study. So the topic of the workshop today is not just to be an author, but how to be an effective communicator. Because your goal should not be just get published, but also to be widely read in your field. And only because you have a high downloads or read by your readers, then you are able to create the impact and influence of your research or study in the field. And to do this, you need to have organized all your ideas throughout your manuscript. So your readers clearly understand the impact of your study. And you need to have an efficient publication strategy, so you are publishing in the most appropriate journal to reach out your target audience. And you need to be able to navigate peer review to improve the quality of your manuscript and publish more quickly. And this will be the three core themes that we will cover today. But before that, I want to briefly introduce Springer Nature to you. Pay attention to some of my slides because the questions actually extracted from my presentation. In 2015, Springer Nature and Macmillan Science and Education, which owns Nature as one of the subsidiaries, merged to become one company, Springer Nature. We have more than 9,000 employees in over 45 countries. And under the umbrella of Springer Nature, our company published many top brands like Nature, Springer, Palgrave, BMC, and Scientific American. So Springer Nature is the name of a publisher or the name of a corporate, and then the names like Palgrave, Nature, Springer, etc. are the imprints or the brands under Springer Nature. And we have several divisions, and the most relevant to you and to higher education is the research division. And then we have health and professional as well as education. Education is like from K2 to high school before university. And we have been developing our strategy towards a responsible company. So we pay a lot of attention to carbon footprint, environment, and SDGs, so that we are able to call ourselves a responsible and kind of environmental friendly company. We work with researchers and academics communities globally. We handle 1.8 million submissions a year and publish 420,000 articles, which is a huge number if you can imagine this number. SpringerLink and Nature.com are the two platforms of all our research resources set. And just in 1 year, we have 3.1 billion downloads. I hope that you are one of the contributors to the downloads. And then, apart from the journal articles, we also publish abundance of books. And each year we publish more than 14,000 new books. New books, not the old books or revised book, but 14,000 new books. And these articles are handled by our internal editor and together with a team of academic editors from different fields and research areas. So at present, we have developed around 3,000 journals. And as I said in previous slide, we focus more on SDG. Meanwhile, we have more than 94,000 articles and book chapters which are related to SDG. So there are some trends that our strategy are actually moving along with. And we identify open access, open science and open platform will definitely be one of the important trends. So our initiatives are indeed developing aligned with these trends in the scientific communities. Our 3,000 plus journals cover all disciplines. And the most renowned one is definitely Nature. I'm not sure if you have Nature, but just want to tell you that in only 2022, Nature is the first journal in the world and among other publishers to achieve more than 1 million citations in that particular year. So it is really a major achievement for us and for Nature. And as I said, we are moving towards an open science and open data platform. Therefore, in the past 10 years, we have been developing open access journals and SpringerLink and scientific reports, which is also under Nature portfolio. And they are in the world are the largest open access portfolio in terms of the number of articles on open access. Also, we offer options to you or to authors to choose between a subscription or open access publishing models. We have just revamped our SpringerLink platform. The homepage design is now different. So we have Ririn here. She is able to give you more training on how to search the resources on our platform. The homepage actually is redesigned in order to facilitate the needs of the authors or researchers in publishing their articles and books. As I said, Springer Nature has been working on open access in the past 20 years, even before we merged. And now we have around 1.4 million research articles published in Go OA. And our OA portfolio has now expanded to more than 600 journals and 3,000 plus open access books. And for most of the other journals which are not yet fully open, we offer an option of hybrid. I do have a slide on hybrid, what is hybrid journals in the later slides. In order to tackle societal changes, we have made the great efforts to publish more than 50% of SDG-related articles in open access environment and support 2.5 million authors from the world to publish in OA. And with that said, we are pioneering transformative agreement that we call it TA globally. We don't have TA in Indonesia yet, but you are more than welcome to ask us the global trend and how you can move forward in a more open access friendly environment. So these are just the numbers and the summaries of our OA portfolio. My slides will be shared with you after my presentation, so you don't have to copy it here, but you can read the data or numbers in detail. And in terms of books, we are now the largest academic book publishers in the world and cover all types of book under Springer and Nature imprints. And I have a section on books, and that will explain the book types. In like journals, we are increasing the number of open access books because we see that OA books actually generate more than twice the number of citations and 10 times more downloads than non-OA books. And at the moment, around a quarter of our books focus on SDGs as well. How many of you have used AI to support your research? I don't have this on Mentimeter, but just a general question. Have anyone used AI for your research? No? Okay, well, I think this is one of the trends. This is not avoidable because technology is here and there are many choices that we can use. This is an example of our AI machine-generated literature overview. This is not the first book that we use machine learning, but this is the first book that we use. We call it an abstractive summarization approach. The auto summaries we use so far from Springer Nature have been generated via an extractive. It is a traditional way that we summarize by using the AI. This is called extractive summarizer. But now we have moved to more abstractive summarizer to generate. So what's the difference between the two? An extractive-based summarizer actually identifies the most important sentence of a text and uses the original sentence to create a summary. So basically, they think that what is most important about that paragraph, and they extract the exact words from that paragraph and summarize, put it in the summary. But an abstract based summarizer creates a new text based on their deep learning. So it is a new phrase after they kind of digesting the whole text, a whole paragraph, and use their own words, I mean the AI use their own words to create a new summary. We see that extraction-based summarizer actually often creates or results in a very lengthy summaries because they extract exact sentence from each paragraph that make it very lengthy. So that's why we have to change it into our more friendly or more readable abstract-based summarizer. We actually believe in using AI responsibly and for the benefit of the research community, but we need to make use of AI more responsible and making sure that we consider and mitigate any negative results, be it societal or be it environmental. And we always place human center, the values of human center at the heart of our approach in order to responsibly using AI, because we believe that real value actually lies in the mix of human and also machine-generated content. So from Springer Nature's standpoint, Springer does not attribute authorship to AI. So if you are using AI to generate some part of your manuscript, don't put AI as an author because we don't attribute. And AI does not allow the inclusion of generative AI images in our publications. No AI generated image on scientific paper, because we can't tell it is real or not, because for all the scientific papers, we are looking at the real findings. So if we are using AI to generate image, it is kind of defined as something fake. And then we also ask our peer reviewers not to upload manuscript into generative AI tools, not to use it to summarize anything. They have to go through your manuscript word by word. So this is kind of our policy. By using AI, we try to be more responsible to the community. So that is this introduction of Springer Nature, as well as the trends we identify in the market. Now we go to our main sections, your research journey. I believe some of you don't publish because I see a few of you say no in the voting. So maybe you don't understand the importance of the publication and will ask us, why publish? And here are the reasons why you have to publish your research findings. So first of all, you can increase the discoverability of your work. You have spent so much time to your study and research for sure. You want it to be read and also to be recognized by the peer in your field. And also, most articles by scientific publishers are indexed on their platforms for easy discovery. And then it will get a much higher chance of your paper being read. Secondly, by publishing your work, it helps reserve your work in a permanent record and expands your professional network and attract more international collaborations at the end. Thirdly, publication can improve presentation and communication of research, because the main purpose of peer review is to improve the quality of your research and paper and correct your errors. And also, of course, you need to explain to the journal editors as well as the peer reviewers, why do you have such kind of findings? Why does the journal editors need to accept your manuscript? This is also a kind of communication. Fourthly, sometimes it may be requested by your funder to get the article published, and you are allowed to, after acceptance, and you are allowed to post your work on blogs, press release, etc., to increase the bigger impact of your work. Then very likely, after publication, you will put this as an achievement in your profile and advance your career. Last but not the least, when you have published your experiments and findings, it helps others to build on your work and avoid effort duplication. And it is also essential for you to understand the publishing structure of your manuscript, to prepare your cover letter well before you submitting your manuscript. So basically, the publishing process can be divided into 3 stages. The first one is your manuscript preparation. You have to find the right journal to submit your paper, and then understand the article type and review the models, as well as the disclosure requirements to save time for the journal editor. And second is the submission and peer review. Journal editors will go through your manuscript first, and if they think that it is suitable for the journal, it will be sent for peer review. And when the article is accepted, it goes to the third stage, and that is the production stage, where you can choose to publish in subscription or open access models, and then the article is typesetted and finally get them indexed. And I will go through them in more details in the slides. So your whole journey will look like this. Do your research, such as carry out experiments, set up methodology, analyze and interpret your data, and conclude your findings. Then start working on the manuscript in a logical way. Submit the manuscript to the journal which fits your article the most. And then go through peer review and corrections of your work. When accepted, it goes to production. And finally, articles is published and put online. So it looks like brief, but actually the whole journey is quite long. Sometimes it takes as long as a year from your first submission to publish. So it is important for you to well prepare in every stage. And now I have the first question for you. I need to stop this. So what is the most difficult part in writing the manuscript? Is it the introduction, the methods, the results, or the discussion? Yeah, discussion, most of you think is difficult? I give you 5 more seconds. So discussion and method seems to be the most difficult part for most of the researchers here, which is a little bit vary from what I observed from West Java, because most of them said that introduction is actually very difficult for them to start, because maybe it is start, so they think that introduction is quite difficult. Okay. Actually, I would say the effective communicator, what they should do is to keep their readers in mind. And usually, our readers have the 4 main questions that they want to ask about your study. Why did you do the study? And what did you do? What did you find? And how does the study advance the field? And because of this, your manuscript should structure like this: the introduction, the methods, results, and the discussions. And let us go briefly into this part, into the 4 main questions. The first questions that your readers want answer is why your study needs to be done. And this is generally answered in the introduction section. And you should start off broad and then guide your readers down to your specific aims. So you begin with the basic background information your readers need to understand the context of your study. And please keep in mind the type of journal you are submitting to. If you are submitting to an international journal, and be sure to emphasize the worldwide relevance of your topic. And if you are submitting to a broad focus journal, you will need to explain and provide more background information to the people who are not in your immediate field. But however, if you are submitting to a specialized journal, then you don't have to give so much background information because your readers are already in that field. They understand what your topic already. And once you have provided the context, you now need to tell your readers what is currently known about the topic. And making sure that you are citing the studies that are up to date and broadly distributed worldwide. This is especially important if you are submitting to an international journal. You have to explain to that, because from our standpoint, you are using the most updated studies. That means you are not referring to the old findings. Some of the findings are already replaced by the new. So you have to make sure your research area, and when you cite it or when you are quoting the studies, it should be the most updated. And once you have told your readers what is known, now you can tell them what is not known. And this is the research problem that you serve as the basics for your study. And then it will lead into your specific aims, and be sure that this specific aim is directly addressed back to the research problem you identify in the beginning. It is in this way that your readers will clearly understand why your study needs to be done. And then the next questions you need to answer is what you did, and often answer in the method section. And this section will be important for people in the field, to not only reproduce what you have done, but also to build on what you have done. And the more people that build on your work, the more impact and influence you will have in the field. And that is how you can build up your reputation. And however, please keep in mind that this section is not only for the readers, but also it is one of the first sections that will be evaluated during the peer review. So if reviewers see that you did not use an appropriate and up-to-date methodologies, and then they will usually recommend the journal editor to reject your manuscript right away. So, what do your readers need to know about your methods? First, you will need to discuss who and what was used in your study. That is your sample of participants, and also the material used for the experiments, for example. And then you will need to describe how you perform the experiments, including any controls that is necessary to validate the techniques. And lastly, you need to describe how you analyze the data. That is, the quantification methods you used. And if you use models and equations, you need to define all the variables and assumptions and identify the statistical tests that you use to determine the significance. So here an example extracted from the materials and methods section of a published article. And in the red, you can see the authors has described the materials they used, the suppliers, and the respective locations that they did the experiments. And then in purple, you can see clearly the subheadings for each technique, and referring to previously published articles in order to save space. That is the number 15 that you see. Actually, because this is a reference, so you can put it in the another section, and try not to mention too much of replication of the methods that is already mentioned in other articles. And then in purple, you can see clearly the subheadings for each technique, and referring, sorry, I already mentioned purple. And then in the light and electron microscopy, you can see in the green that extra information is needed to convey the explain to the readers and how this particular experiment can be reproduced. And in blue, the parameters of the statistical test used have been explained. So if you are able to identify the materials, the samples, the location that you carry out the experiments, and then with the introduction and clear subheadings of the reference used to do each steps, and then also how to reproduce based on this, because the most important part, I would say, in the methods is how people can reproduce your experiments. This is what's the most important for most of the researchers, because they build on your work and then maybe in the future, they amend some of the samples or steps in order to find out some other new findings. And last but not the least is the equations that you set up for the whole experiments. And then the third questions of your readers want answer is what you found, and this is done in the results section. And keep in mind, you are very familiar with your findings, but your readers are not. So if you do not logically present your findings, they can become easily confused. So for many fields, a nice logical presentation includes an initial observation, the characterization of that observation, and finally, how this observation is useful for the field. That is, what's the application. And let me give you an example. For example, let's say you are fabricating a new membrane for water treatment. Well, this is your observe, so you should put it in the beginning. But now your readers want to know more about this membrane. They want you to categorize it for them in more detail. So you will then present your findings, categorizing the physical and chemical properties of this membrane under different conditions. And lastly, your readers want to know why your membrane is useful, what's its application. And then better to compare the efficacy of this membrane with those of other membranes that already existed in the market. And in this way, you can logically guide your readers through your findings. And you should also write the results in subsection, and each one with a corresponding and clear corresponding figures. This is because it is easier for readers to understand the complex information when it is presented one bit at a time, because this can avoid information overloaded. And each section, and also the graph, I would say the graph should have a very clear caption for that graph to explain what it is about, such as the figure 1 shows the energy level of this membrane, etc. Because this will help the readers understand what to expect. And only when they expect what to know in that subsection, then they will get the ideas more quickly. And this is another example. You see there is a very clear standalone legend, and sometimes we call it a caption. That clearly describes each part of the figure. It tells you the red and the black indicates and what the meaning of the dotted line. And the axes have been clearly labeled, and because the authors are trying to present related data, they have decided to break the numbers into multiple panels. If they try to present this as a single figure, it would just look so messy and too much information to understand. So instead, they have separated into smaller and simpler components. So whether you use a figure or table, really depending how complex is your finding. If it is too complex and similar to this kind of graph with many lines, with many sections. I encourage you to, make it into a series of tables or figures, and each one represent one simple result. Don't try to combine all the complex information into one graph, because most of the people cannot understand fully. They have to look at each line in detail, which is sometimes they may get the wrong impression or even interpret the data wrongly. But if you separate them into smaller ones and with a caption, it is actually guiding the mindset into a logical way. And then in the final section, the discussion that most of you voted for the most difficult part, and you will answer the last key questions, how your study contributes to the field. And I like to think of this section as the opposite of the introduction. And because in the introduction, you start broad and then narrowly guide back your readers down to your specific aims. But here in the discussion, you want to start narrow, and then you summarize the key findings, the key findings, and then guide your readers back out to the general implications these findings have for the field. And to do this, you need to interpret your findings. You will have to describe how your findings are similar or different compared with those that have already been published. And you will have to discuss any unexpected or negative results. You should never hide the negative results from your readers, because your readers in the field basically can observe if it is a positive or negative result by looking at your methods and the findings. You just need to, mention why you observe these negative results and how future research can, address to this problem. And also be sure to describe any limitations in your study design, because your ability to identify the limitations and what measures that you can take in the future to control actually establish your expertise. I know most of the researchers or authors, they try to hide something negative because that sounds like they have done the experiments, fail, and also try not to provide any limitation. But, scientific or science advancements is actually based on the failure from our predecessors. We build on of what they have done in the past, and then we try to improve and amend the experiments in the future. So basically, your limitation, your negative results is also useful for the researchers in your field, because they can try not to reproduce the same negative results, but try to, input some other useful information in order to get the final solution for that particular problem. So don't be afraid of any negative results or limitations to mention in your manuscript. And at the end of the discussion, sometimes as a separate section, is a conclusion. And please remember, this is the last section of your manuscript, and that is most likely to be read by your readers. So be sure to discuss what is most important about your study, including any main conclusion, key implications, and potential future directions. And if you logically organize this, and that will be very clear for your readers to understand how your study contributes to the field, because this is a section about the influence of your research articles in that particular field. So in the end, you will logically structure your manuscript and answer the 4 key questions. Why this study needs to be done? What did you do? What you found? And how your study contributes to the field. But in addition to a nice linear flow of information, I strongly encourage you to link your ideas together throughout your manuscript, because I already mentioned that your objective should be directly related to the research problem. But this also means that your key findings should be only those that are relevant to your objectives. And finally, be sure that your conclusion answer the questions you identify in the introduction. So think of your manuscript like a story. When you identify a problem in the beginning of your story, your readers definitely want an answer of that problem when it is finished. And that answer is your conclusion. So linking your ideas together throughout your manuscript will help emphasize the significance and relevance of your study for your readers. And now, before your readers will have a chance to read your paper, you need to get their attention. And how you get your attention is by your title. And this is what people will first see when looking for articles online. So there are some tips for you should do or should not do to create your title. So first of all, your title should clearly state about what is most important about your study, and this is what your readers are looking for. Your titles will also be indexed by databases online, so be sure to include one or two keywords to improve visibility. And keywords should be more specific instead of generic, because if you say something like a molecule, optical, lasers, actually is very generic, and then you will have a lot of, if your readers search about this, you kind of bury from thousands articles with similar keywords. So instead, you should have a very specific keywords such as single molecule interaction, carbon nanotubes, energy level structure, etc. And these are more like a technical terms of a specific area. And lastly, keep your title short. When people are quickly, reading page after page online, they may skip your long sentence, because it is very common for publishers' platform that when it is more than 15 words, some of the words in the back actually cannot be read. So try not to have your title more than 15 words. Now, what should you avoid in your title? First of all, avoid questions. And these type of titles are not good because it is not what readers are looking for. They already have questions. They just want answers. So the answer to the question is actually what is the most important. Also, avoid method-based titles such as an investigation of a water treatment service in West Java, something like that. This is not good because readers want to know what you found, not what you did. The finding is more important for them to know if it is a contribution to the field. So, for both question and method-based titles, the readers need to go to the abstract in order to understand what your paper is talking about. Is it something that they are really looking for? So, try not to do that. And lastly, avoid abbreviations. If people outside your immediate field are not familiar with the abbreviation, they will not understand your title. So please ensure your title is a concise description of what is most important about your study, what was investigated, what was measured, and what are the samples. So let's have a look at this particular example. Let me read it out to see if you get what it is about. Late Quaternary evolution of the world's landscape over glacier and interglacier cycles in a region of high tectonic vertical uplift and lateral strike-slip movement in the Cherwell Basin located in the South Island of New Zealand. So what's wrong with the title? Yeah, it is too long, right? And it is hard to get the core message of this article is about. Is it about the late quaternary evolution? Is it about the glacier and interglacial cycles? Is it just about New Zealand? We don't know. But after a little bit revision and shortening of the titles, we get a better version. Late quaternary Lowell's landscape evolution on an active tectonic margin, Chartwell Basin, South Island, New Zealand. So it's much better because at least we know this is about the active tectonic margin. And then what is the result of this tectonic margin that is related to the late quaternary Lowell's landscape evolution. And this has happened in New Zealand. So basically we have a more understanding of the title is about. So long doesn't mean good, because if you put everything in that, actually you lost your main theme of your manuscript. So if you get the attention of the reader, now you have to give them the best first impression of your paper with your abstract. And your abstract will be the first time they can evaluate the importance of your aims. The importance of your aims, the significance of your research, and then the significance and relevance of your conclusions. In addition, it's also the first time they can evaluate the clarity of your writing. Because if they think that you are not really clearly communicating your thesis or your paper in your abstract, and they will assume that you cannot do a very clear explanation in your manuscript as well. So how do you give your readers a good first impression? Well, you need to provide the information necessary for them to evaluate those same 4 key questions that I mentioned in the beginning, and that is why your abstract is basically a summary of your manuscript. You need to give the background information so readers understand why the study needs to be done. You need to state your aims and study design to address the important research questions. You need to highlight the key findings of your study. And remember, for most of the readers, actually this is the part they read the most and keep update regularly. It doesn't mean they don't want to read your article, but they just don't have time to go through all the articles. So what their practice is to just look at the key findings. So that's why it is very important for you to put in the abstract 1 or 2 or even 3 key findings in your paper. And lastly, be sure to state your main conclusion, which should answer the important question and the key implications your study has in the field. And this will help emphasize the relevance of your study and encourage readers to read and download your paper. Now that we have reviewed about logically structuring your ideas throughout your manuscript, and let us discuss your publication strategies. Oops, sorry. Okay, yeah. And then this is the second questions that I want to ask you. When you choose a journal to publish, what do you consider first? Is it the publisher? Is it the impact factor? Target audience? Or the publishing model, either open access or is it a subscription? Yeah, target audience. Impact factor. Yep. Any more? We have 10 people submitted. So far, most people think that impact factor is very important when you choose to publish. If you don't mind, I want to sit down for a while. Okay, I see most of you voted for the impact factor. Remember, your goals actually is to publish quickly and have impact in your field. And this is how you build up your reputation and advance your career. And to do this, you need to choose the most appropriate journal and communicate the relevance of your study to your journal editor, why they need to take up your manuscript. But many authors think that the goal is to publish in high impact factor journal. And that is not necessary, honestly, because the impact of your articles does not necessarily mean or equal to the impact factor of the journal. Your goal is to get widely read, and that is how you have impact. And to do that, you have to be sure your articles you publish in the journal that will allow you to reach out to the target audience, and they will read your paper. In other words, which journal will allow you to best reach out to your audience? And just because you publish in a high impact factor journal does not mean your article will be widely read, because your articles may not meet the scope of the journal, aims and scope. And if it is not widely read, it will not have impact. So focus on the impact of your article, but not the impact factor of the journal, because the number of the impact factor is actually given to the journal itself. But how do you measure your articles under the journal is another way of measurement. So don't always focus on the impact factor journal. So first of all, you need to ask yourself the most important questions. Who is your target audience? Where are your researchers located? Is it in your region, or is it located globally? What are your researchers investigating or studying? Is it in your subject area or a related area? And who do you want to influence, apart from the researchers? Is it the industry, policymakers, educators, or general public? So your audience has a great influence to you to choose the right journal. So the easiest assessment you can make is, where are your findings relevant? If your findings are useful for researchers worldwide, yeah, then you should choose an international journal. But if your findings are only useful for researchers in your specific area, for example, just Asia Pacific or even just in Indonesia, then you should choose a regional journal, because it may be hard to convince an international journal editor why your regionally specific findings will be of interest to the people in Latin America. But of course, if you do think that your regionally specific findings will be finally expanded to other regions and will have influence to the globe, then you can choose to publish in an international journal. But you need a much more work, because you need to clearly explain this in your cover letter and in your manuscript, that why you think your regionally specific findings will be of interest to the global reader, to the journal editor. You need to decide who will be interested in reading your findings, that who do you want to influence. If you are trying to reach only readers in a specific field, then a specialized journal will be appropriate. For example, here, if you are studying just a cancer-related subject, then you can choose Nature Cancer, because this is a focused and specialized journal. But if your findings will have impact for researchers in other fields, maybe a more broad journal will be more appropriate to reach out to these readers, especially nowadays. We are talking multidisciplinary research. So if it is like a cover across different subject areas, then you should choose a broad focus journals. For example, if you are talking about new treatments and new drugs to cure cancer, that it covers drugs, cover treatment, physical or whatever, and then also about one of the disease, then you should publish in Nature Medicine. It is a more broad focus journal. And then you should choose the accessibility of your article. What does that mean? Do you want to reach out to the globe in a simple way? And then you should choose an open access, because now we have two publishing models authors can choose from. That is the subscription, and the other is the open access. So subscription is journals that often more established in the market because they are older and they do not charge any fee when publish articles. But keep in mind that by publishing in the subscription model, you restrict access to your findings to only those people or universities that has the subscription right to that journal. So if you want your findings to be more widely available in the world, then open access would be a good choice for you. Apart from higher accessibility, open access has other benefits, such as authors can keep the copyright. In general, the papers have more downloads, etc. So what are the big difference between the two? I just want to explain it in more detail because this is like a very hot topic in the market right now. So if you understand more about the publishing models, actually giving you more options to choose when you want to submit your manuscript. Open access journals has no subscription or access fee for readers, so meaning that they won't hit a paywall no matter who they are and where they are. They can just directly download and read your paper. But authors are asked to pay the article processing charge, APC, that either paid by themselves or covered by their institutions or any funding or sponsor from outside. But the author can retain their copyright under the CC BY license, meaning readers are allowed to copy and redistribute the material in another format or medium. And also, other people can alter, transform, or build upon the material. But of course, at the end, they need to give the authors the credit. Transformative journals are always referred to the subscription or hybrid journals. This is really something that we have been talking more often. Subscription means all the costs are handled by the publishers, but the articles will only be limited to those with subscription right, as I said. And then we offer the hybrid journal. Hybrid is the journal that authors can choose between subscription or open access after the articles are accepted. So nowadays, more and more articles are transitioning to a fully open access journals, and that is why we are using more transformative journals for those which are not yet fully open access. So make it simple, there are fully open access journals, fully subscription journals that you only handle in closed environment, and then transformative journals, which underneath you can choose between open access or subscription. So basically the three types of journals that we have. But of course, not all open access journals are good, and even some of the journals not open access still may not be good. So there are some that promise with a quick and easy publication with a fee. Then do not trust this. This is very risky. Then how do you identify a trustworthy journal? So first of all, of course, check the publisher. If it is from a reputable publisher like a Springer Nature, then you have more confidence that it is a good journal. You can check where the journal is indexed. For example, is it listed in the directory of open access journals? If yes, it is also likely a good journal. But also, is it indexed in the databases that researchers in your field also use to find articles, like Web of Science or Scopus? If no, even if it is published, no one can find it. So always make sure that your journals is indexed properly. So almost all open access journals only charge a fee after acceptance. If a journal asks you for a submission or publication fee, you need to be very, very careful. Also check the editorial board. They should have a list of international experts with some names that you are familiar with. So this is an example of phishing email that our editors always receive regularly. So upper part of this email looks very normal. It is all the information about the journal, the name, the ISSN, the peer review models, etc. But the tricky part for below, you see, send your manuscript within this month and enjoy 94% discount of publication charge. As I always mention, you only have to choose whether you want to publish open access or you pay after your articles are accepted. So during the submission, during the peer review, you don't have to pay anything. But only when your article is accepted by the journal editor, then you will be informed of the payment method. So if they said, pay how much now, you definitely know that it is a fraud, it is a fake journal. And there is an excellent and free of charge platform that you can check whether a journal is trustworthy, and this is called Think, Check, Submit. And simply click on the check, and they will give you a nice checklist that you can use. And only when you tick yes to all the boxes that you feel comfortable to submit to the journal. So I encourage you, when you have any doubt of a journal, just go to this website and check it out. And for Springer Link, we also have a tool that supports you to find the right journal for your publication. If you remember, on the Springer Link platform, on the top left column, there is a Find a Journal, and when you click on it, it directs you to this Springer Journal Finder. And then when you type in your keywords, abstract, or even subjects, and search, then it will come up with a list of search results. And herewith, you can see the journals which match your manuscripts the most. You can see the impact factor, you can see how many downloads so far, and you know appropriate timing from the submission to the first decision, and how relevant to your research area. So please try that Find a Journal or Journal Finder function on our Springer Link platform and see how many journals are suggested for your manuscript. So we have now discussed how to choose an appropriate journal and how to logically organize your ideas in your manuscript. You are ready to submit? Yes. And then the next section, I will cover the important points to keep in mind to successfully submit your manuscript to the journal. So one important thing you have to keep in mind is journal editors are always busy, because most editors are full-time professors, so they don't have time, to review your articles if your articles are not good enough. So this also means that you are competing with other readers or researchers who have submitted their manuscript at the same time. So therefore, having an efficient publication strategy is very essential for you to go through the peer review. So first impression are very important when you have limited attention from the journal editor. It is the first time they can evaluate the significance and relevance of your study, and this is how they determine if your manuscript is suitable to be published. If not, because they have many other options to choose from. They also want to ensure your study will be interesting to the readers. Remember one thing, that why do they take up as a journal editor? Because they are not paid for this. One thing that you keep in mind is that the goal of the journal editors is to build up the reputation of the journal, and this is their main objective of running a journal. So only when the articles are read and by their readers, then they have more citations, they have more downloads, and at the end help pushing up the impact factor metrics. So this is how they build up the reputation of the journals, and this is their goal. So what information journal editors need when evaluating the suitability of your manuscript? They want to know the title of your manuscript for sure, but also tell the journal editor the type of article it is. Journal publish a variety of article types, such as letter to the editor, research articles, review articles, communications, etc., etc. And each one is evaluating differently. So let the journal editor know the type of article your manuscript is in the beginning of your cover letter. And next, you need to briefly describe why the study needs to be done in the scope of your study. Introduce the topic of the study and what challenges researchers are facing regarding this topic. Then, concisely discuss your study and achievements. Your study design and also highlight one or two important findings, because this is to emphasize why your study is important to the field. And next, you need to convince the journal editor that your manuscript is relevant to the journal editors, to the journal's readers. As I said, this is the goal of them to maintain the reputation of the journal. So I recommend you to go to the journal homepage to review the aims and scope of the journal, to be sure to include any key topics or key coverage of the journal, as well as what the readers are emphasized. So this will help establish the relevance and suitability of your manuscript to the journal editors to choose your manuscript. And finally, some other additional information is highly recommended. And you should highlight the important issues related to publication ethics. This is especially important for international publishers like us. It is also a good idea to recommend 3 or 4 reviewers to the journal editors. Of course, they have their own network of peer reviewers, but sometimes if your research are very niche, not well known in the market, then the journal editor may take time to look for the right reviewers to your research areas. So if you are able to recommend 3 or 4 reviewers to them, it actually saves their time. But at the same time, you can exclude reviewers if you think that there will be a conflict of interest. I want to touch on a little bit more information about the ethics, because sometimes we see some disputes in the market and some retract of publications. So if you are able to provide the extra information on publication ethics in a cover letter, actually it gives confidence to the journal editors that you understand the macro environment of the publishing. So first of all, you need to mention it is original and unpublished. It is not being reviewed by any other journals, because you can only submit your manuscript to one journal at a time. Because if 2 journals accepted your manuscript, what happened to that? There may be dispute among the publishers who is the first one to publish, and also there may be, well, it's not It's not really always the case, but there can be a conspiracy that you try to cite your own paper from another journals, which is, to us, is unauthentic. Okay? And then journal editors don't like author conflicts, so therefore state that all the authors agree on the content of the journal and the authorship order. It is also useful to state that the authors agree with the submission to the journals. We don't want to give one of the authors a surprise when they see the article published online. If you have any conflicts of interest, you should state them here. And if you have any fundings, you should also mention. And last but not the least, some journals will require you to clarify each author's contribution in order to qualify to be an author. Because I know some people may put everyone as a co-author or corresponding author and try to put some renowned names as their co-authors in order to increase the chance of publication. But honestly, it is not necessary because first of all, the peer review is anonymous. They don't know who have submitted that manuscript. And secondly, we always encourage people or authors to make the sequence of the authorship. But for those only who really contributes to the whole manuscript, do the experiments, and spend most of the time in the manuscript writing, should be qualified as authors. So, for example, if your supervisor is just to give you some comments during your writing, but not really involved in the research area or not involved in the writing, you can acknowledge him in the acknowledgement, but not as a co-author. You can go to our website, Springer website or Nature website to look at the updated editorial process and the publication ethics. Now that you have convinced the journal editor that your study may be suitable for the journal, you have overcome the first obstacle. Now you are facing the second one, peer review. Many authors view peer review like this, that is slaughtering along the whole journey, try to kill you, right? But actually, peer review is a very positive process because first of all, the experts in your field take time out of their busy schedule to give their advice on how you can improve the quality of your study and your manuscript, and they do it free of charge. And by being externally reviewed, peer review actually ensures that only those studies that are most relevant and also that are scientifically sound are published. And this process can then directly influence the advancement of the field. Therefore, you have to ensure that the journal editors has all the information they need to make their decision. And this is done in the response letter after revision. One of the most common mistakes that authors make, and I know some of our journal editors dislike so much, is you just say that the revision was done, not to mention where the revisions were. And please remember that journal editors are very busy, and they don't have time to hunt for your revision in the revised manuscript. So you need to make it the life easy and tell them you have fully revised your manuscript and according to the reviewer's comment. And be sure to state in the response letter what was the revision and where they can find the revision text. You can, something like highlight in different colors, number them in numbers, etc., so that they know and obviously they can find it where the revision are. Of course, you may not always agree with what the reviewer's comments. So what should you do if you think the comment is unfair to you? First of all, discuss with colleagues to get the third-party angles. They may have a different views from yours. Secondly, check the journal articles to see if they have similar findings or styles as yours. Double check if you need additional support for your conclusion to make it clear that it is important to the field. And also check again the journal's aims and scope to see if you are aligned with it. If at the end you still find the reviewer's comments not fair, then you should contact the journal editor. Yes, reviewers may be working in the field, but that doesn't mean the reviewers know everything within the scope. There may be some niche area they are not familiar with. So they may misunderstand your meaning or interpret your findings differently. If you think that you disagree with the comments, with the reviewer's comment, you can still contact to the journal editor. I don't go through the whole manuscript journey because this is behind the scene. Editor and reviewers looks very equal in this process, but actually, it is always the journal editors to make the final decision. Go through the peer reviewers, the comments get back to the journal editor, so it will be the journal editor to finally accept or still reject the manuscript. So if you have any things uncertain about the peer reviewers, not agree with the reviewer's comment, you can go to the journal editor, send them an email to tell them why you disagree with the reviewer's comment. Of course, you have to give enough evidence and proof to the journal editors why you disagree. But of course, regardless of how good your study is, you may still not be successful in submitting your manuscript to your target journal because you are competing limited space from your other competitors. So what should you do if you are rejected? First of all, relax. This has actually happened to all the authors. I don't think most of the authors can submit it successfully once they submit it. Don't take it personally. Then secondly, learn from the experience. What did they don't like about your manuscript? Can you further improve it? Can you revise it? If yes, at the end, resubmit it to another journal. Sorry that you cannot revise your manuscript and then submit the same journal again because they already have the record. But of course, unless like a few years or a few months after, you have some new findings in your research area and you will have some new different angles to look at your research area. You can revise the whole manuscript and then submit again, the same journal. But if you are just talking about the revised manuscript, you cannot submit to the same journal, but you can resubmit to another journal. And I'm happy to tell you that we are more than willing to support our authors to publish their articles. Sometimes it's not because of the quality of the manuscript is not good or not breakthrough enough. Actually, they are good, but the journal editors have to reject it. First of all, because there are so many findings, similar findings in the market, they cannot just focus on one area. And secondly, because your manuscript may not meet the aims and scope, it's not for the readers. That's why they have to reject it. And Springer Nature has a service that is called Transfer Desk Service that our subject matter expert from internally, they are using the journal matching technology to consider your titles, your abstract, the reviewer's comment, in order to find some other journals that fit into your manuscript. And you are able to submit your manuscript to the other journals from Springer Nature. But note that it is not a guaranteed publication. You still have to go through the same reviewers. We provide this just because, you know, I think some of you have the experience. When you are rejected, it is very time consuming to look for another journal to publish. Which one is more suitable for me? But with this transfer desk, you don't have to look for other journals to publish, but we will give you a list of journals relevant to your study, and then you can submit again. This is how our transfer desk works. It works for all the Springer journals. It also works for Nature portfolio. When it is a bit specialized, it's not too broad, because Nature is very broad-focused journal. If your study is very specialized, like what I say, don't only on cancer, and then they will refer your journals to a specialized journal like Nature Cancer. But if it's not too breakthrough, but it is scientifically sound articles, then they will transfer to Nature Communications or to Scientific Reports. Nature Communications and Scientific Reports are the fully open access journals, and I know that a lot of Indonesian researchers have published their articles in these two open access journals portfolio. Okay. The journal publishing is basically how it looks like and how you can structure your manuscript. And the next one is about book publishing. And this is a question for you. Have you ever thought of writing a book? The first question, the previous question is more like, have you ever published a book? But this one, if you have some idea in mind, you want to make it a book. Yeah, I think most of you want to write a book. I want to write a book too, but I don't know what my topic is, so I'm still thinking. So I think many of you think that you want to write a book. I want to say I'm not a book expert. I'm more focused on journals. I try to mention it because we are seeing more and more needs of publishing a book from the whole Asia Pacific. So that is why I put book publishing as one of my topics here. So a typical academic book journey looks like this. But first of all, we need to know, why do authors decide to write a book? What is their motivation? We heard that some people say, I want to pass my knowledge to the next generation. I want to offer a longevity of my work. I want to build a reputation in the field. And also, it's an advanced career. I think for a profession, when you publish more articles, the next step is to publish a book. This is like climbing up the career ladders. And sometimes, which for us is kind of a little bit negative feedback, is they are forced to publish a book because their supervisors ask them to do so, or their funder asks them to do so. So these are all kinds of motivations that can ask you to publish a book. So you first need to have a motivation before you approach a book editor, and then follow with the editorial process and then production process. Same as journal articles, there are many book types that differ from each other, and you need to think about what exactly you would like to publish. These are some of the book types that I want to explain to you so that you have some information about how you prepare your chapters in these books. So research-based books, or we call it monographs, is author books or by a single author or multi-authors. And these are always high-quality primary research on certain research areas. So monographs usually have a long shelf life. Then we have textbooks. Textbooks are written for certain research courses used in universities and always have high usage. As this is used as course pack, it is usually comes with supplementary work or multimedia. And I believe most of you have used it a lot of textbooks in undergraduate courses. Proceedings are the compilation of primary research from conferences, seminars, or workshops. And these are the proceeding papers in the form of book. I mean in the forms of article, but make it into a book type. And most fall under the subjects of computer science or engineering subjects. Handbooks or reference works are comprehensive and complete literature. And I also think that you have used a lot of handbooks, dictionary, or encyclopedia. Book series, you can think book series as a journal because a journal has many volumes and then under each volume have many articles. Book series is similar and almost the same. It contains different volumes of books in different topics and run by international editor or advisory board. And these editors focus on specific topics or disciplines or even geographical regions, and then they look for the contributions of books. Last but not the least is the Springer Briefs. These are short research monographs, but focusing on very niche area because, books are very different from journal articles. Articles basically have no limitation on the number of pages or number of words. But books, if you want to make it into books, there is always a restriction of pages. So like book series or monographs, they have their own pages limitation. But sometimes in your niche area, maybe no matter how you elaborate the whole thing, it's still not enough for a monograph. Then what should you do? And that is why we offer the Springer Brief. Springer Briefs is only between 50 to 125 pages. So you are more than welcome to publish your thesis or your research area, summarize it, and make it into a book. So what do you expect the timeline will be if you decide to publish a book? But first of all, you need to expect it will take much longer time than a journal article. First of all, you have to consider the sort of book or scope of books that you want to write. Is it a broad discipline? Is it a consolidation of existing research? Is it comprehensive rather than specific? Ask yourself these questions because that will affect your book type. For example, a broad one will likely be a reference work, and then a narrow one will be more a research book containing case study or original research. And now look at the timeline. Unlike journal, you don't have to submit your whole manuscript to the book editor, but a book proposal, there is a standard form from Springer Nature to book authors. You just need to fill in and then submit it with a few chapters as an example. Your proposal should contain framework such as your title, table of contents, information text, authors, editors, or even your own CV. And it is also good to mention your target audience of the books. Are there similar books in the market? And what is a unique selling point of your book which can stand out from other competitors? And then it will go through the review process and allow editors to make their decision quicker. Then it will go through the review process. The earlier one is like a review proposal process. Then it will go through the review process by editors. When it is approved, then you will sign an agreement contract with the publisher and start working in your whole manuscript. And according to our book editors, they always mention that your time on writing a manuscript should not exceed 3 years. 3 years is almost like the maximum times you should write your manuscript. Because in such a long time, in 3 years' time, there may be similar books already published in the market. You lose your selling point. And also, someone has already, get the attention from the market. So our book editors suggest that don't do your manuscript over 3 years' time. Maximum, or not maximum, or in general, 1 year or 1.5 years should be good enough for the writing a book manuscript. And then in the manuscript review, editors will check everything like plagiarism, scientific style of the writing, any problems identified such as the number of content, etc. If everything is good, it will go to the production, such as typesetting, proofread by authors, etc. So usually, a book takes around 2 years to finish from submitting a proposal to publishing. But of course, there are some unexpected factors that will affect the timeline. So please prepare well, particularly for your proposal and manuscript writing. One of the examples that our book editors told me is that in the proposal, the author said that there will be chapters under the table of content. But once they submit the manuscript, the editors found out that there are only 8 chapters. There are 2 missing chapters. Where are they? Why is there a missing chapters? Why not enough? Then they have to negotiate with the authors the reason. And of course, the authors have to provide the reason. There will be back and forth communication between the editors and writers. So it is actually further delayed the timeline. So try to follow all the things, everything's mentioned in the contract, not to vary from the beginning of the contract. If you have anything changed, inform the editors as soon as you can. If you are accepted, no matter if it's a journal or book, you can celebrate. But don't celebrate for too long because, yes, your articles is published, but it is just online. When there are so many articles on the databases like SpringerLink, actually readers may not be aware of your newly published articles. So you need to actively promote it to the field. First of all, it's always good to attend conference because those people are basically working in your field. They may be your potential authors, potential readers, so let them know that you have published your articles. And also, they are in the same area. You are able to establish another round of collaborations. Secondly, I think everybody has their social media account like Facebook or Twitter or LinkedIn. So you can put your published articles via a link on our article website and put it on your Twitter, for example. And then whenever receive that link, they can read your full text online. Last but not the least, you may also put it in a in a press release or media to further promote your published articles. And we have a very good tool that could further, disseminate your articles to your peers. It is called Share It. It is a content sharing from Springer Nature that allows anyone to read your published article even without ethical access to the journal. It applies to all our 3,000 journals. So how does it work? After you publish in a Springer Nature journal, you simply go to the article web page and then scroll down to the bottom and you will see there is a function, shareable link. And when you copy that shareable link and put it in your email, in your WhatsApp, in your social medias, so anyone click on it, if they have the subscription right to that journal, they can download it into a PDF. But even if they don't have the subscription, they can still read the full text online, but they cannot download, they cannot print, and they cannot reshare. So today I have focused on being an effective communicator, ensuring that the information your readers are looking for can be found and understood quickly and efficiently. We review how to logically organize your ideas throughout your manuscript so that you can effectively communicate them to your readers. We just discussed how to choose the best journal for your manuscript to reach out to the most appropriate audience. And lastly, we cover how to communicate the suitability of your manuscript to the journal editor and how to successfully navigate through the peer review. And by doing this, you will not only get published, but also be widely read in your field, and this will lead to increased citations and downloads and build up your reputation. So I really hope that my presentation today will be some useful tips to you. But of course, you may still need further support because just one presentation may not be good enough for you to write your manuscript. And we are happy to say that Springer Nature is able to support your publication. We have some paid training service. Of course, it's still better to go through your libraries or your institutions to subscribe. We have Nature Master classes that is conducted by our Nature editors, talking about scientific paper, how to write a scientific paper, how to focus on high impact factor journals. These are all hands-on workshops. It can be tailored from 1 day to a week. And then we have on the right-hand side is the research academies. This is more for the young researchers, how to structure the manuscript, and also with some examples. And that tailored for a bigger group, like up to 100. But if you are looking for free of charge tutorials, you can also go to our springer.com platform. Go under the author menu and look for the author tutorials. There you can find some courses like writing a manuscript, open access, etc., etc. This is basically what I want to cover today. And I think I said in the beginning, there are 4 questions about my presentation. And if you answer correctly, you are able or entitled to win a prize from us. So first of all, let me go to Mentimeter. So this is I like using Mentimeter because it's not just about answering the questions correct, but also how fast you answer the question, because it calculates the correct answer together with the time you spend on answering that question and make it into a scoreboard. So now I see 22 players ready. Anyone needs more time to get in, to log in? No? Then I will start the quiz. See how much attention you pay to my presentation. The first question, remember, answer fast to get more points. So I mentioned 4 key questions all the time. Which one is not the question? Only 15 seconds. Yes. Who said methods, huh? Yes, bibliography. I didn't mention that it is one of the questions. So let's see who is leading in the first question. Yeah, Diandra. Good, fastest. And then we go to the next question. Well, I said about a rejected manuscript, we have a service to, pass you over to another Springer Nature journals. Unfortunately, Journal Finder is more in the beginning of you writing a manuscript. So you don't know which one you want to publish. You can go to Journal Finder, type your keywords, abstract, in order to give you a list of journals. But here, I mentioned about rejected manuscript. So our service is called Transfer Desk. When your articles is rejected, we have some other similar journals which fit into your aims and scope. Sorry about that. I know this is quite misleading. Yeah, we still, Diandra, still in the leading. See if she can keep till the end. So a little bit tricky in the last two questions, because this is the numbers about Springer Nature. This is a fact. In which year Springer and Macmillan merged? I hear laugh or I hear sigh. Yeah, still alive. I'm happy because I intentionally put 2917. And in previous universities, still some people pick that. Okay, let's see. Now Susie is faster. Okay, now this is a last chance. Also about the numbers on Springer Nature. Also very tricky. The last one. How many books we publish every year? New books. I wish, and I think my company also wished to publish 15,000 books, maybe in the next 2 years goal, but at this moment we still publish 14,000 new books. So let us see who is the winner of this game. Susie! May I invite Susie to come out? Because I have prepared some gifts. Well, not very, valuable, but good enough to remember Springer Nature. Susie? Yeah, thank you. Oh, they were here. Congratulations. This is a card holder.
Oh, yes. Thank you.
This is made this year.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah,
Congratulations. And also we have, I also picked two. That is the runner and second runner up. The next one is MTK. Yes, congratulations. Congratulations. Okay, this is a passport holder. And the second runner-up is Sasa. Sasa? Ah. Thank you, congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you. There's a water bottle.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone, and I hope that you really learned something from me today. And last but not the least, I wish to have you having 1 or 2 words about the talk today and make it into a word cloud. The word cloud is something that we build up together because without you, the talk will not be organized. So this is a combined effort. Thank you. Thank you very much. Terima kasih. I hope next year, if I come again, I'm able to speak more Bahasa, but it's difficult to learn. And then we still have some time. I know Ririn is going to give you a brief demonstration of our platform. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Mabel Tang, for the speech. Maybe it will be useful for researcher, lecturer, and students. The second speeches will be delivered by Ms. Sururin Mauduna. Please welcome Ms. Sururin Mauduna. Time is yours. Maybe you can please split the... yeah.
Baik, Bapak dan Ibu mungkin menunggu sebentar saya prepare. Boleh dimakan dulu snacknya, diminum dulu ya. Baik, bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Selamat siang Bapak dan Ibu. Terima kasih saya ucapkan kepada Bapak dan Ibu yang sudah bersedia hadir pada hari ini. Nah, singkat saja mungkin saya nanti akan reminds kembali bagaimana caranya untuk akses ke berbagai jurnal yang terdapat di dalam Springer Nature. Sebelumnya di sini saya mau tanya nih, Bapak dan Ibu sudah pernah akses jurnal-jurnal dari Springer? Sudah sering, sudah cukup akrab? Sudah, oke. Jadi mungkin ada yang beberapa yang masih belum akrab ya. Jadi di sini memang saya reminds kembali, nanti saya akan demo langsung ke dalam learning site dari Springer. Nanti di situ saya akan tunjukkan bagaimana caranya mengakses jurnal-jurnal yang ada di dalam learning site dari Springer. Tadi Miss Mabel sudah menjelaskan bagaimana cara ataupun how to get published di dalam Springer Nature. Nah, saya di sini nanti akan menjelaskan bagaimana cara akses konten-konten jurnal articles yang terdapat di dalam learning site-nya. Oke. Nah, sebelumnya Bapak dan Ibu, untuk dapat mengakses ke dalam jurnal-jurnal yang ada di dalam Springer, itu ada 2 cara. Yang pertama, itu kita ketika berada di area Unesa gitu ya. Kita wajib untuk mengkoneksikan antara device-nya dengan Wi-Fi yang tersedia di area Unesa. Nah, itu cara yang pertama. Nah, cara yang kedua itu ketika Bapak dan Ibu berada di luar dari area Unesa, jangan khawatir, Bapak dan Ibu masih akan tetap dapat mengakses ke dalam konten-konten yang ada di dalam Springer dengan cara menggunakan akun remote access. Sudah ada di sini yang punya akun remote access? Nah, kalau belum ada nanti boleh kontak tim perpustakaan ya Bapak dan Ibu supaya membuat akun di dalam remote access, oke? Oke. Nah, cara yang pertama tadi kita menggunakan Wi-Fi yang tersedia di Unesa ya. Nah, kalau sudah terkoneksi dengan Wi-Fi, Bapak dan Ibu bisa langsung menuju ke link dari Springer, yaitu di link.springer.com gitu ya. Maka nanti tampilannya seperti ini Bapak dan Ibu bisa dilihat. Nah, kita lihat nih, kita perlu tahu apakah memang kita sudah terkoneksi ataupun apakah kita sudah terafiliasi oleh Unesa gitu. Kita ceknya ke bawah ya. Nah, di sini ada scroll ke bawah, ada watermark yang bertuliskan Universitas Negeri Surabaya. Maka tandanya Bapak dan Ibu sudah terkoneksi dengan Unesa. Artinya Bapak dan Ibu sudah dapat mengakses seluruh konten-konten yang dilanggan oleh Unesa secara full text. Sampai di sini Bapak dan Ibu sudah paham? Paham ya? Oke, cukup mudah. Nah, itu tadi ketika kita berada dan menggunakan Wi-Fi yang tersedia di dalam Unesa. Bagaimana kalau misalnya kita berada di luar nih, misalnya kita lagi WFH, lagi berada di kafe, di mall gitu ya. Kita aksesnya melalui, nah ini, unesalibrary.remoteaccess.co/home. Boleh difotokan untuk alamat URL-nya Bapak dan Ibu ataupun dicatat ya untuk alamat URL-nya. Baik, nah ketika kita sudah masuk ke dalam portal dari remote access, Bapak dan Ibu tampilannya seperti ini nih. Kalau kita sudah login menggunakan masing-masing akun ya, akun pribadinya gitu. Nah, di sini ada seluruh database yang dilanggan oleh Unesa. Jadi tidak perlu ketika Bapak dan Ibu masuk ke dalam salah satu database kan itu kadang butuh personal akun gitu ya. Nah, jadi kalau di remote access Bapak dan Ibu hanya membutuhkan satu akun saja untuk seluruh database yang dilanggan oleh Unesa. Seperti itu. Nah, kita scroll di sini. Nah, di sini di bagian jurnal itu ada salah satunya yaitu jurnal dari Springer. Silahkan diklik saja untuk jurnal Springernya. Oke, tampilannya seperti ini Bapak dan Ibu sama. Pastikan ke bawah kita ada watermark. Sama persis ya Bapak dan Ibu. Nah, oke. Nah, setelah kita masuk ke dalam portalnya, di sini ada beberapa feature yang bisa membantu Bapak dan Ibu menemukan konten-konten yang terkait dengan kebutuhan masing-masing gitu ya. Nah, di sini ada search bar ataupun search engine di mana kita bisa memasukkan kata kunci gitu ya. Kemudian kalau misalnya Bapak dan Ibu ingin mencari kata kunci sesuai dengan subjek masing-masing, kita bisa klik yang bagian browse by subject. Maka nanti di situ akan tersedia untuk berbagai macam multidisiplin ilmu. Nah, jadi di sini Bapak dan Ibu hanya perlu untuk menyesuaikan saja subjek apa yang dibutuhkan. Seperti itu ya. Oke, nah kemudian di bagian sebelah kiri ini ada find a journal. Sesuai dengan yang Mabel tadi jelaskan ya. Jadi Bapak dan Ibu misalnya tertarik ingin submit paper di dalam Springer dan masih bingung nih jurnal yang cocok dengan manuskripnya itu apa. Nah, di sini Springer menyediakan layanan ataupun feature untuk mendeteksi gitu ya, jurnal apa yang cocok yang mendukung untuk publish manuskrip kita gitu. Nah, tinggal dimasukkan saja di sini untuk abstraknya bisa langsung dimasukkan ya, di copy paste aja manuskrip ataupun abstrak masing-masing. Kemudian di sini untuk dimasukkan kata kunci masing-masing gitu. Jadi nanti ketika kita klik bagian find journals, maka akan muncul daftar jurnal-jurnal yang terkait dan yang cocok untuk disubmit gitu. Oke. Kembali lagi kita ke halaman utama. Nah, sebenarnya untuk mengakses masuk ke dalam Springer itu cukup mudah. Kita tinggal masukkan saja kata kunci yang terkait. Misalnya di sini saya contohkan money management ya. Boleh kita langsung ketikkan dan kita klik bagian logo search. Nah, seperti ini Bapak dan Ibu bisa dilihat untuk konten-konten terkait dengan money management gitu. Nah, di bagian sebelah kiri saya itu akan ada menu filter yang akan mempermudah Bapak dan Ibu untuk memfilter konten-konten dengan sesuai dengan kebutuhan masing-masing gitu ya. Nah, di sini misalnya Bapak dan Ibu tertarik ingin mencari artikel gitu ya. Boleh kita centang ataupun juga pengen cari yang bagian review artikel. Boleh. Nah, ini dia multiple checklist, jadi Bapak dan Ibu boleh sesuaikan. Nah, kemudian di sini juga kita bisa mencari konten berdasarkan kapan dipublish gitu ya. Bisa dari 3 bulan yang lalu, bahkan di sini kita juga bisa custom tanggal sesuaikan dengan yang kita butuhkan gitu. Misalnya dari tahun 2022 sampai dengan 2024 boleh. Gitu. Nah, untuk bahasanya kita bisa pilih bahasa Inggris dan sesuaikan jika memang Bapak dan Ibu membutuhkan artikel ataupun konten dengan bahasa yang lain gitu. Nah, di sini kita tadi juga bisa subjeknya juga kita bisa filter. Kemudian untuk disiplin juga kita bisa sesuaikan gitu ya. Tadi money management terkait dengan apa nih? Misalnya business and management ataupun di bidang ekonomik dan lain-lainnya. Gitu. Oke, coba kita klik bagian business and management. Nah, untuk subdisciplines juga disediakan di sini Bapak dan Ibu. Jadi boleh tinggal dipilih saja. Nah, setelah itu kita jangan lupa untuk klik bagian update result. Nah, terkait dengan konten-konten yang ada di dalam Springer itu dapat diakses mulai dari tahun 1997 sampai dengan the latest edition. Oke. Nah, setelah kita filter, ternyata dari hasil 10.000 lebih konten-konten yang terkait dengan money management, nah sini hanya tinggal tersisa sekitar 1000-an saja gitu. Artinya semakin mengerucut dan juga sesuai dengan kebutuhan kita gitu. Nah, di sini juga kita bisa short berdasarkan kerelevansiannya ataupun berdasarkan artikel yang paling terbaru sampai ke lama ataupun sebaliknya gitu. Oke, nah ini kita klik salah satu contohnya artikel ya. Nah, di sini bisa dilihat untuk judul dari artikel tersebut, kemudian di submit di jurnal apa, ternyata submitnya di bagian review of managerial science gitu. Nah, kemudian di sini ada informasi terkait dengan jurnal tersebut, artikelnya kapan di submit, volumenya berapa, isunya berapa. Kemudian kalau mau download silahkan Bapak dan Ibu langsung klik saja logo PDF, maka nanti secara otomatis akan terdownload di dalam device-nya masing-masing. Kemudian di sini juga ada informasi dari authors. Nah, di sini bisa dilihat dari mana authors tersebut berasal gitu ya. Nah, ini kebetulan dari Germany and juga Belgium gitu. Nah, kalau misalnya ingin reach out autornya ya, Bapak dan Ibu bisa langsung klik saja bagian logo pesan. Kalau misalnya tertarik ingin mengajak berkolaborasi terkait dengan artikel tersebut, boleh. Kemudian di sini juga terkait dengan abstrak. Kemudian, nah di bagian sebelah kanan itu akan ada table of content ataupun sections. Jadi section ini berfungsi ketika Bapak dan Ibu ketika sudah baca nih abstraknya, ternyata ingin mencari tahu tentang apa itu resultnya ya. Nah, kita bisa klik saja bagian result, maka nanti akan secara otomatis dia nge-link ke bagian yang kita klik gitu. Nah, salah satu feature yang paling penting juga kita klik bagian about this article ya. Nah, jadi di bagian about this article ini feature yang bisa kita gunakan ketika Bapak dan Ibu tertarik untuk mensitasi ataupun mengutip artikel tersebut. Jadi di sini bisa Bapak dan Ibu copy ya secara manual ataupun kita bisa download citation-nya. Maka nanti bisa langsung diekspor ke dalam reference manager software masing-masing gitu. Nah, di sini juga ada informasi kapan di-receive, kapan di-accept dan juga kapan di-publish gitu. Nah, kemudian di sini ada share this link, get shareable link. Artinya adalah ketika Bapak dan Ibu mungkin kalau misalnya kita sebagai dosen ingin merujuk mahasiswa menggunakan artikel ini, silahkan di-share-nya dalam bentuk link gitu ya. Dimana ketika kita share artikel tersebut dalam bentuk link, kita dapat membantu si author untuk meningkatkan reputasi dari jurnal mereka gitu. Jadi tidak disarankan untuk share dalam bentuk PDF, melainkan kita share-nya dalam bentuk link. Seperti itu. Oke, nah ini di sini juga kita bisa lihat nih referensi yang digunakan di dalam artikel tersebut ya. Sangat terpercaya sekali, Bapak dan Ibu tidak perlu khawatir ketika memang kita mencari referensi dari Springer. Oke, nah sampai di sini untuk mengakses artikel jurnal di dalam Springer, ada yang ingin dipertanyakan? Sudah cukup jelas? Sudah ya, baik. Karena memang waktu kita juga sudah habis ya Bapak dan Ibu. Kemudian mungkin hanya itu yang dapat saya sampaikan. Saya harapkan ke depannya Bapak dan Ibu semakin giat lagi dan juga bisa mengoptimalkan penggunaan dari Springer gitu ya Bapak dan Ibu. Kemudian Bapak dan Ibu jangan lupa ketika akses di luar rumah itu wajib menggunakan remote access dari Unesa ya. Jadi itu sebenarnya mempermudah Bapak dan Ibu, tidak perlu membuat satu persatu akun melalui ke seluruh database yang dilanggan. Hanya perlu satu username dan kata sandi untuk dapat mengakses ke seluruh database yang dilanggan oleh Unesa. Baik, sekian dan terima kasih. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Saya kembalikan kepada MC. Terima kasih. Mbak, sudah.
Terima kasih untuk Bu Sururin Mauduna. Silakan jika ada yang bertanya. Tapi tentu saja sekarang hadiahnya sudah nggak ada ya. Tapi kalau ingin tahu lebih tentang Springer, silakan mumpung Bu Sururin masih bersedia menerima pertanyaan. Ada yang bertanya? Ya, silakan. Klik aja remote access. Ya, remote access Unesa. Nah, lalu untuk membuat akunnya klik forgot password. Nah, langsung nanti udah langsung emailnya ya, email Unesa. Bapak Ibu, apabila ada yang bingung cara menggunakan remote access, silakan dibuka di linknya. Silakan dibuka remote access Unesa, lalu nanti tinggal klik forgot password bagi yang belum mempunyai akun. Nah, nanti di situ silakan klik emailnya, email Unesa ya kalau bisa. Nanti akan dikirimkan passwordnya, link untuk mengubah password. Jadi mudah sekali, nggak perlu tanya-tanya akunnya gimana, tinggal forgot password aja diklik gitu. Kemudahan ya kalau masih bingung juga silakan menghubungi Bu Ayun. Nanti kita akan memberikan kontaknya, nomornya. Remote access ini sangat mudah digunakan kalau misalnya di luar jangkauan, maksudnya bukan di luar Unesa, di luar Unesa ya. Kalau sudah di luar Unesa itu kita nggak perlu lagi pakai WiFi Unesa. Jadi bisa lebih mudah gitu, nggak pakai lemot-lemot, nggak pakai buffering gitu. Karena kan kalau masih di sekitar Unesa, kita masih menggunakan WiFi Unesa kan, ini sangat mudah gitu. Tapi kalau sudah di luar Unesa, terkadang kan agak susah ya. Nah itu pakai remote access. Kalau boleh disarankan ya Bapak Ibu yang memang lecture ya, dosen-dosen di sini, silakan mahasiswanya itu diupayakan untuk selalu membuka jurnal-jurnal yang sudah dilanggan oleh Unesa. Jadi tidak perlu kebanyakan anak-anak kan lihat dari Google ya, mahasiswa itu Google, takutnya kan itu kan nggak terakreditasi atau jurnal-jurnal predator gitu. Nah sedangkan kita sudah subscribe banyak sekali ya, beberapa selain Springer juga ada yang lain, tapi kayaknya penggunanya masih sedikit ya, mungkin juga belum banyak yang tahu. Nah untuk supaya tahu itu disarankan mengikuti bimbingan pemustaka Bapak Ibu. Apalagi untuk mahasiswa baru, kita selalu ada bimbingan pemustaka untuk mahasiswa baru, terlepas itu S1, S2, S3 ya, supaya ngerimain gitu loh, bahwa kita punya beberapa jurnal yang sudah dilanggan gitu. Sayang sekali kalau nggak digunakan ya, untuk peneliti, dosen-dosen, mahasiswa-mahasiswa yang lagi penelitian gitu kan, sayang ya, tahu-tahu nanti kalau udah lulus, ternyata kita punya ya, atau oh buku ini ternyata ada online booknya ya kan, sayang sekali, taunya udah lulus. Jadi diusahakan untuk mengajak mahasiswa untuk membuka web perpus atau remote access gitu. Caranya kan mudah sekali ya, tinggal klik keywordnya aja, tulis keywordnya aja ya Bu Suririn ya. Ya silakan. Sudah pakai email Unesa? Linknya susah ya nih. Kalau nanti memang susah, akan dibuatkan akunnya sama Bu Ayun.
Sudah coba reset password, tapi tertulis keterangan user does not exist.
Doesn't exist.
Sudah memakai email
Oh
Unesa?
ya, kalau doesn't exist silakan menghubungi Bu Ayun. Kayaknya itu perlu ekstra itu ya. Baik, ada pertanyaan tentang Springer, mumpung masih ada Bu Sururin dan Miss Mabel Tang. Silakan kalau ada pertanyaan. Ini sangat berguna sekali loh, apalagi yang dari teknik ini dan MIPA, ya. Saya aja deh yang tanya. Kan kalau buku yang online-nya ada AI-nya kan. Ada untuk summarize-nya ya, atau rangkuman, merangkum gitu. Itu bisa nggak ya kita mengubah dalam bahasa Indonesia kira-kira? Ya. Ya, silakan.
Jadi pertanyaannya terkait dengan translator ya yang terdapat di dalam platform dari Springer. So Mabel, if I'm not mistaken, still there is nothing translator in Springer Nature feature. There is no Springer Nature translator. Yeah. In Ya, oke. Jadi memang di dalam Springer itu memang belum tersedia untuk feature translator gitu. Jadi memang kalau misalnya itu di feature-feature translator itu biasanya di database yang kita sebut dengan agregator. Nah, biasanya kalau di agregator mereka memang menyediakan translator. Tetapi kalau misalnya untuk di publisher, independent publisher seperti Springer itu memang tidak menyediakan feature translation seperti itu. Nah mungkin kedepannya juga mungkin kita masih pertimbangkan apakah bisa kita usulkan untuk Yeah, yes. Yes, that is true. Oke, terima kasih atas pertanyaannya.
Yes, for the researchers, but I think the reader is the reader is a bit difficult. I think, or maybe students.
But I think this is a good way for them to train up the English literacy, because I believe if you want to pick up a language, better to know it when you are young. So we have a lot of very easy understanding textbook that you can focus on. Because I always encourage people to go to read scientific papers. If they want to publish in international publishers, they need to understand or get the idea how to write the format and style of a scientific paper. So reading English is one of the ways.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. Thank you. Please sit back. Okay, there is no other questions. I think it is enough. Yes. Okay. Springer is a journal and ebook, right? And then it is very easy to use. We can write the keywords because for subject, and then it will be come out all the journals, and then we already subscribe. This is the Unesa try to give more for student and lecturers, and then we can use it by remote access, or we can use by library, web library, right? So if there is no question, we will go to the last is closing and prayer. To close the program, let's recite Hamdalah together. Alhamdulillah, Rabbil Alamin. Finally, ladies and gentlemen, that's the wrap up of this event. On behalf of the Library Committee, I am Henengari Widawati, would like to thank everyone for allowing some of your precious time to join us here today. From the deepest of my heart, I do apologize for my mistakes in presenting this event. We look forward to seeing you again in next Outdoorship workshop. We wish you a safe trip back home and enjoy the rest of your days. Thank you and good afternoon.